Today, we're diving into the most shocking, most valuable, and most mind-blowing quarter dollars ever found. Stick around, because what you discover could make you look at your pocket change in an entirely new and insanely profitable way. Hidden in drawers, piggy banks, and dusty old collections are old, dirty, and incredibly rare quarter dollars worth a fortune. Some so scarce that collectors would pay tens of thousands of dollars just to hold them. Stop everything, because the quarter hiding in your pocket right now could be big money. I'm talking about a dirty, worn-out 1965 quarter that most people throw away, but collectors have paid thousands, and in rare cases, life-changing money, for one single coin. If you've ever ignored old change, this might be the biggest mistake of your life. Now listen closely, because the 1965 quarter has one of the most mysterious backstories in U.S. coin history. In 1965, America quietly changed its money forever. Silver was removed from circulating quarters, and a new copper, nickel-clad composition was introduced. But here's the secret they never wanted the public to notice. Some 1965 quarters were struck on the wrong metal, using leftover silver planchets. And once those coins escaped the mint, they became hidden treasure. These coins were never supposed to exist. No mint mark, no announcement, no recall. Just silent mistakes slipping into circulation, where they got scratched, dirty, and spent like pocket change. For decades, people cleaned houses, cash jars, and spent them at gas stations, never realizing they were holding big money in their hands. Now here's where things get shocking. A genuine 1965 silver quarter, mistakenly struck on a 90% silver planchet, can weigh about 6.25 grams, instead of the normal 5.67 grams. That tiny difference? That's the difference between face value and five figures. In top condition, verified examples have sold at auction for $7,000, $10,000, even more. That's a life-changing value from a coin that looks old, ugly, and ordinary. But don't blink, because silver errors aren't the only jackpot hiding in 1965 quarters. Let me tell you about the off-metal errors. Some 1965 quarters were struck on foreign planchets or experimental blanks. These coins look wrong. The color may be slightly golden, darker gray, or unusually bright. The sound when dropped? Sharp and ringing instead of dull. Collectors go crazy for these. Verified off-metal 1965 quarters have sold from $1,500 to over $6,000, depending on composition and condition. That's hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. Now stay with me, because here comes one of the most dramatic mistakes of all, double die errors. On some 1965 quarters, the design was doubled during the die creation process. Look closely at Liberty, the date, 1965, and Washington's profile. If you see clear doubling, not machine blur, congratulations. Depending on strength, these can bring hundreds to several $1,000s. Yes, even when the coin looks old and dirty. And here's something most people miss, the rim. Some 1965 quarters have broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the collar that normally forms the rim. The result? A wider, flatter coin with missing or distorted edge detail. These errors scream rarity to collectors. Auction prices range from $300 to $2,500, and higher if paired with another error. But wait, because the real shock comes from transitional errors. Remember, 1965 was the first year of clad quarters. That transition caused chaos at the mint. Some planchets were wrong thickness. Some were incomplete. Some were struck multiple times. A 1965 quarter with a partial clad layer missing, revealing copper core streaks, can sell for $500 to $3,000. These coins often look damaged, but they're not. They're big money mistakes. Now let me reset your attention with a real auction story that a collector bought an old roll of quarters from a bank. Nothing special, just dirty coins. Inside was a 1965 quarter that felt heavier. He didn't clean it. He didn't polish it. He sent it for grading. The result? A confirmed silver planchet error. That coin later sold at auction for over $8,000. One coin, one moment, life-changing value. So how do you identify one of these rare quarters? First, check the date. It must be 1965. No mint mark is normal, so don't worry about that. Second, check the edge. A normal clad quarter shows a visible copper stripe. A silver error does not. If the edge is solid silver gray, stop everything. Third, weigh it. A silver quarter weighs around 6.25 grams. A standard clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. That difference is critical. Fourth, look at the color and sound. Silver has a softer gray tone and rings when dropped gently on a hard surface. Fifth, inspect for errors. Doubling on letters, off-center strikes, wide rims, missing layers. These details separate pocket change from hidden treasure. Now here's the emotional part. Most of these coins are found dirty, scratched, dark, ugly. That doesn't matter. In fact, many error coins survive only because people ignored them. The value is in the mistake, not the shine. Cleaning can destroy big money, so never clean a coin you think is rare. And let me hit you with one more shock before we wrap up. Some collectors believe undiscovered 1965 silver quarters are still out there, sitting in jars, drawers, and old collections. No one knows how many escaped the mint. That mystery is why prices keep rising. Every new discovery fuels demand. Every auction record pushes values higher. So right now, this second, you could be sitting inches away from life-changing value. A coin you've walked past for years. A quarter you almost spent on coffee. Stop scrolling, because the old, dirty 1966 quarter hiding in your pocket or coin jar could be big money. I'm not talking about a few dollars. I'm talking about hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases, truly life-changing value. One small mistake, one forgotten coin, and everything changes. Now here's the mystery that makes the 1966 quarter so dangerous to ignore. In 1966, the U.S. Mint was in chaos. America had just removed silver from circulating quarters, but the public was hoarding coins, hiding silver, and the mint was under pressure to flood the economy with new money, fast. To avoid panic, the mint removed mint marks entirely. No Denver, no San Francisco, just silence. And inside that silence, mistakes happened. Coins were struck too fast. Planchets were mixed. Dies were reused beyond their limits. And some quarters that should never have existed slipped into circulation, got spent, got dirty, and were forgotten. That's why today, the ugliest 1966 quarters can sometimes be hidden treasure. Let me hit you with the first shock that a normal 1966 quarter is copper, nickel-clad. But error examples were struck on wrong planchets, including experimental metals and even leftover silver blanks. These coins look slightly different. The color feels off. The weight is wrong. And when verified, these errors have sold for $3,000, $7,500, even over $10,000. That's not hype. That's auction reality. And here's the terrifying part. Most people spend them without ever knowing. Now reset your attention, because this gets crazier. Some 1966 quarters were struck with missing clad layers. That means part of the outer nickel layer never bonded, exposing the copper core in dramatic streaks or patches. Most people think these coins are damaged. Collectors know better. Depending on how dramatic the missing layer is, values range from $400 to over $3,000. Old, dirty coins with visible copper bleeding through? That's big money territory. Now let's talk about double die errors, because this is where sharp eyes get paid. On genuine double die 1966 quarters, you may see strong doubling on Liberty, the date, or Washington's profile. Not blur, not wear, clear separation. These coins can sell from $500 to $2,500, and much more if the doubling is bold and the coin grades well. And yes, even circulated examples matter, but wait, because one of the rarest errors is still coming. Some 1966 quarters were struck off-center, sometimes dramatically. Washington's face might be cut off. The date might be pushed toward the rim. If the date is still visible, collectors fight over these. Prices commonly range from $300 to $1,800, and higher if combined with other errors. That's hidden treasure most people would toss aside. Now let me reset your attention with a true auction-style story that a collector inherited a jar of coins from a relative. Nothing fancy. Most were blackened with dirt and age. One 1966 quarter felt strange in the hand. Slightly lighter color. Slightly different sound. It turned out to be an off-metal error. After authentication, it sold for over $6,000. One coin. One moment. Life-changing value. Now listen carefully, because this is how you identify a valuable 1966 quarter. First, check the date. It must be 1966. No mint mark is correct for this year, so don't let that fool you. Second, check the edge. A normal clad quarter shows a copper stripe. If the edge looks solid silver gray or uneven, stop right there. Third, check the color. Error coins may appear darker, brighter, or oddly toned compared to normal quarters. Fourth, check the weight if you can. Off-metal errors often weigh noticeably more or less than standard quarters. Fifth, inspect for errors, doubling, missing layers, off-center strikes, broad strikes with wide flat rims, or distorted lettering. These are not damage. These are mistakes worth big money. Now here's a mistake that scares me the most: broad strike errors. These happen when the coin is struck without the collar that forms the rim. The result is a wide, stretched coin with weak or missing edge detail. 1966 broad strikes have sold from $250 to $2,000 and higher when paired with doubling or off-center strikes. And yes, condition matters, but not how you think. Many high-value error quarters are ugly, dark, scratched, circulated. Cleaning them can destroy thousands of dollars in value. Never clean a coin you suspect might be rare. Now here's the chilling truth. Experts believe undiscovered 1966 quarter errors are still out there. They weren't all found. They weren't all saved. Many are still sitting in drawers, jars, and old collections, especially in the US and the UK, where American coins traveled heavily. Every year, new examples surface. And every time they do, prices climb. That means right now, today, you could be inches away from hidden treasure. A coin you've ignored for years. A quarter you almost spent without thinking. So here's your moment. Check your change. Check old jars. Check inherited coins. Look closely at every dirty 1966 quarter, because the next one discovered could be worth big money, and it could be the coin that changes everything. Stop. Do not skip this, because the old, dirty 1967 quarter you've ignored for years could be big money. I'm talking about a coin most people spend without thinking, that in the right form has sold for hundreds, thousands, and in rare error cases, jaw-dropping, life-changing value. This is the kind of hidden treasure that slips through fingers every single day. Here's the mystery that makes the 1967 quarter so powerful. In the mid-1960s, the US Mint was under extreme pressure. Silver had just been removed from quarters, people were hoarding coins, and the government wanted one thing: speed. In 1967, mint marks were deliberately removed to stop collectors from pulling coins out of circulation. No D, no S, no clues. Just mass production. And when speed meets silence, mistakes happen. Coins were struck fast. Dies were overused. Planchets were mixed. And errors that were never supposed to exist escaped into circulation, where they got scratched, worn, and dirty. That's why today, some of the ugliest 1967 quarters are actually big money waiting to be recognized. Now listen carefully, because here comes the first shock. Some 1967 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets. That includes experimental metals and foreign blanks. These coins feel different. The color looks slightly off, either darker gray, brighter silver, or strangely pale. When authenticated, off-metal 1967 quarters have sold from $1,500 to over $6,000. One coin, one mistake. Life-changing value for someone who knew what to look for. Reset your attention, because this gets even crazier. A known and highly collectible error for 1967 is the missing clad layer. Normally, quarters have a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. But on some coins, one outer layer never bonded. The result? Dramatic copper showing through the surface. Most people think it's damage. Collectors know it's hidden treasure. These errors regularly sell between $400 and $3,000, depending on how complete the missing layer is. And yes, dirty examples still count. Now let me hit you with a true collector nightmare. Double die errors that on some 1967 quarters, the dies were misaligned during creation, causing doubling in the design. Look closely at Liberty, the date, 1967, and Washington's profile. True doubling looks thick, separated, and clear, not blurry wear. Strong examples have sold from $600 to over $2,500, even in circulated condition. That's big money hiding in plain sight. But don't blink, because the rim might be where the treasure hides. Some 1967 quarters were struck as broad strikes, meaning the collar that shapes the rim wasn't present. The coin spreads outward, creating a wide, flat edge with weak or missing rim detail. These coins feel larger than normal. Broad strike 1967 quarters have sold for $250 to $2,000, and more when combined with doubling or off-center strikes. Now let's reset your attention with a real-world story collectors love to whisper about. A man sorting through old pocket change noticed a 1967 quarter with an unusual color and no visible copper stripe on the edge. It looked dirty, almost ignored. He didn't clean it. He had it tested. It turned out to be an off-metal error. That quarter later sold at auction for over $4,000. That's life-changing value from a coin nearly spent on coffee. So how do you identify a valuable 1967 quarter? First, check the date. It must read 1967. No mint mark is normal, so don't be fooled by that. Second, check the edge. A normal clad quarter shows a copper stripe. If the edge is solid silver gray or uneven, stop immediately. Third, check the color and surface. Look for strange toning, exposed copper, or missing layers. Fourth, check for errors. Doubling on letters or numbers, off-center strikes, wide rims, or distorted designs. Fifth, check the weight if possible. Wrong planchet errors often weigh more or less than a standard quarter. Now here's something emotional and important. Many of the highest value 1967 quarters are old and dirty. They survive because no one cared. Cleaning one can destroy thousands of dollars in big money value instantly. Never clean a coin you think might be rare. Dirt does not kill value. Mistakes create value. And here's the chilling truth. Experts believe many 1967 quarter errors are still undiscovered. They weren't pulled from circulation. They weren't saved. They're sitting right now in jars, drawers, and inherited collections, especially in the US and the UK, where American coins traveled widely. Every new discovery pushes prices higher. Every auction record fuels demand. And collectors are paying more each year for confirmed errors. That means right now, this very moment, you could be holding hidden treasure without knowing it. A single quarter with life-changing value that has been ignored for decades. So here's your call to action. Go check your coins. Check every dirty 1967 quarter. Look at the edge. Look at the color. Look for mistakes. Because the next discovery could be big money, and it could change everything. And here's the cliffhanger. Rumors are circulating in the collector world about newly authenticated 1967 quarter errors that haven't even reached public auction yet. If those hit the market, prices could explode overnight. Stop. Don't move, because the old, dirty 1968 quarter sitting in your pocket right now could be big money. I'm not exaggerating. I'm talking about a coin most people spend without a second glance, that in rare cases has sold for hundreds, thousands, and yes, even life-changing value. This is real hidden treasure, and it's still being found today. Here's the mysterious backstory that makes the 1968 quarter so dangerous to ignore. The late 1960s were chaos inside the US Mint. Silver had just been removed from circulating coins. People were hoarding anything old, and the Mint was rushing production at full speed. For years, mint marks had been removed to confuse collectors, but in 1968, they suddenly returned. Denver and San Francisco came back into the picture, and with that transition, mistakes exploded. Coins were struck too fast. Dies were overused. Wrong metal blanks slipped into presses. And those errors quietly escaped into circulation, where they got worn down, scratched up, and dirty, completely unnoticed. That's why today, some of the ugliest 1968 quarters are actually big money waiting to be discovered. Now lock in, because here comes the first shock. Some 1968 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets. That includes foreign blanks and experimental metal stock. These coins may look slightly silver, darker gray, or strangely bright. The weight feels off. The sound when dropped is sharp and ringing instead of dull. When authenticated, off-metal 1968 quarters have sold from $1,500 to over $7,000. One mistake, one coin, life-changing value. Reset your attention, because this gets even crazier. One of the most collectible errors from 1968 is the missing clad layer. Quarters are supposed to have a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. But some 1968 quarters lost one of those outer layers completely. The copper core bleeds through like rust. Most people think it's damage. Collectors know it's hidden treasure. Depending on how dramatic the missing layer is, these have sold for $400 to more than $300, $500. And yes, even heavily circulated, dirty examples still matter. Now let's talk about double die errors, because this is where sharp eyes get paid. Some 1968 quarters show true doubling on Liberty, the date, or Washington's profile. Real doubling looks thick and separated, not blurry wear. Strong double die examples have sold between $600 and $2,800 and higher when professionally graded. That's big money from a coin most people overlook. But don't blink, because the rim may be hiding the jackpot. Some 1968 quarters were struck as broad strikes, meaning the collar that forms the rim wasn't in place. The coin spreads outward, creating a wide, flat edge with weak or missing rim detail. These feel larger than normal in the hand. Broad strike 1968 quarters have sold from $250 to $2,000 and more when paired with other errors. Now let me reset your attention with a true collector story that a woman cleaning out an old drawer found a pile of dark, grimy quarters. One 1968 D quarter looked strange, no visible copper stripe on the edge. She almost cleaned it. She didn't. After testing and authentication, it turned out to be an off-metal error. That single dirty quarter sold at auction for over $5,000. That's life-changing value from a coin that almost went back into circulation. So here's how you identify a valuable 1968 quarter. Pay close attention. First, check the date. It must read 1968. Second, check the mint mark. You may see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. No mint mark can also exist on some proofs, so don't dismiss anything yet. Third, check the edge. A normal clad quarter shows a copper stripe. If the edge is solid silver gray or uneven, stop immediately. Fourth, check the color and surface. Look for strange toning, exposed copper, missing layers, or unusual shine. Fifth, inspect for errors, doubling on letters or numbers, off-center strikes, wide rims, clipped edges, or distorted designs. Sixth, if possible, check the weight. Wrong planchet errors often weigh more or less than standard quarters. Now here's something emotional and critical. Many valuable 1968 quarters are old and dirty. They survived because nobody cared. Cleaning one can instantly destroy thousands of dollars in big money value. Dirt does not kill value. Errors create value. Never clean a coin you think might be rare. And here's the chilling truth. Experts believe many 1968 quarter errors are still undiscovered. They were never pulled from circulation. They're still sitting in jars, drawers, and inherited collections across the US and the UK. Every year, new examples surface, and every time they do, prices rise. That means right now, this moment, you could be holding hidden treasure. A single quarter with life-changing value that's been ignored for decades. So here's your mission. Check your change. Check old jars. Check every dirty 1968 quarter you can find. Look at the edge. Look at the color. Look for mistakes. Because the next discovery could be big money, and it could change everything. And here's the cliffhanger. Collector rumors are swirling about newly authenticated 1968 quarter errors that haven't hit public auction yet. If those appear, price records could shatter overnight. Stop. Don't move, because the old, dirty 1968 quarter sitting in your pocket right now could be big money. I'm not exaggerating. I'm talking about a coin most people spend without a second glance, that in rare cases has sold for hundreds, thousands, and yes, even life-changing value. This is real hidden treasure, and it's still being found today. Here's the mysterious backstory that makes the 1968 quarter so dangerous to ignore. The late 1960s were chaos inside the US Mint. Silver had just been removed from circulating coins. People were hoarding anything old, and the mint was rushing production at full speed. For years, mint marks had been removed to confuse collectors, but in 1968, they suddenly returned. Denver and San Francisco came back into the picture, and with that transition, mistakes exploded. Coins were struck too fast. Dies were overused. Wrong metal blanks slipped into presses, and those errors quietly escaped into circulation, where they got worn down, scratched up, and dirty, completely unnoticed. That's why today, some of the ugliest 1968 quarters are actually big money waiting to be discovered. Now lock in, because here comes the first shock. Some 1968 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets. That includes foreign blanks and experimental metal stock. These coins may look slightly silver, darker gray, or strangely bright. The weight feels off. The sound when dropped is sharp and ringing instead of dull. When authenticated, off-metal 1968 quarters have sold from $1,500 to over $7,000. One mistake, one coin, life-changing value. Reset your attention, Because this gets even crazier. Point one of the most collectible errors from 1968 is the missing clad layer. Quarters are supposed to have a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. But some 1968 quarters lost one of those outer layers completely. The copper core bleeds through like rust. Stop what you're doing right now, because the old, dirty 1969 quarter hiding in your pocket or coin jar could be big money. I'm not exaggerating. I'm talking about a coin that most people spend without a second thought, but in rare cases has sold for hundreds, thousands, or even life-changing value. Yes, this unassuming quarter could be hidden treasure, and it's waiting to be found. Here's the mysterious backstory that makes the 1969 quarter so fascinating. The late 1960s were a chaotic time at the U.S. Mint. Silver had been removed from circulating quarters a few years prior, and production was rushed to meet demand. In 1969, errors slipped through at a record pace. Dies were overworked, planchets were misfed, and off-metal coins quietly entered circulation, completely unnoticed. Most people spent them, unaware they were holding big money in their hands. Now here's the first shocking fact. Some 1969 quarters were struck on the wrong planchet. That includes leftover silver blanks, experimental metals, and even foreign stock. These coins may look slightly darker, oddly pale, or strangely reflective. They might feel heavier or lighter than normal. Verified off-metal 1969 quarters have sold at auction for $1,500 to over $8,000. One single coin. One mistake. Life-changing value. Let's reset attention because this gets even crazier. That a highly collectible 1969 error is the missing clad layer. Normally, quarters are a copper core sandwiched between two nickel layers. On some 1969 quarters, one layer failed to bond, exposing the copper core dramatically. Most people assume it's damage. Collectors know better. It's hidden treasure. These errors regularly sell for $400 to $4,000, depending on condition and how much copper is visible. Now let's dive into double die errors, one of the most exciting varieties. On certain 1969 quarters, the dies were misaligned during creation, causing doubling on Liberty, the date, or Washington's profile. Real doubling is clear, thick, and separated. No blur from wear. Strong examples have sold from $600 to over $3,000, even in circulated condition. That's big money in your pocket change. But the rim might hold the most shocking surprises. Some 1969 quarters were struck as broad strikes, meaning the collar that shapes the rim wasn't used. The coin spreads outward, creating a wide, flat edge with weak or missing rim detail. These feel larger in the hand. Broad strike 1969 quarters have sold for $250 to $2,500, and prices soar when combined with doubling or off-center strikes. Here's a real auction story to make your jaw drop. That a collector bought an old box of quarters from an estate sale, mostly dirty, worn coins. One 1969 quarter caught their eye. It had an unusual shine and no visible copper stripe. They didn't clean it. After authentication, it turned out to be an off-metal error. That coin later sold for over $6,500. That's life-changing value from a coin many would have tossed in a soda machine. Oh, how do you identify a rare 1969 quarter? Pay close attention. First, check the date. It must be 1969. Second, check the mint mark. Most quarters are Denver, D, or Philadelphia, no mint mark, and some San Francisco proofs exist. Third, inspect the edge. A normal clad quarter shows a copper stripe. If it's solid silver gray or uneven, pause immediately. Fourth, examine color and surface. Look for unusual toning, exposed copper, missing layers, or strange brightness. Fifth, inspect for errors, doubling, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped edges, or distorted designs. Sixth, check the weight if possible. Off-metal errors may weigh more or less than standard quarters. Now here's the emotional part. Many of the highest value 1969 quarters are old, worn, and dirty. They survived because nobody cared. Cleaning can destroy thousands of dollars in big money value. Dirt doesn't hurt. Mistakes create value. And here's the chilling truth. Experts believe many 1969 quarter errors are still undiscovered. They weren't all pulled from circulation, and they may be sitting right now in jars, drawers, and inherited collections across the US and the UK. Every new discovery pushes auction prices higher. Every verified error fuels demand. That means right now, this very moment, You could be holding hidden treasure. A single 1969 quarter with life-changing value that's been overlooked for decades. So here's your mission. Check your change. Check old jars. Check every dirty 1969 quarter. Look at the edge. Look at the color. Look for mistakes. The next discovery could be big money, and it could change everything. And here's the cliffhanger. Collector rumors suggest newly authenticated 1969 quarter errors may soon hit auction, and if confirmed, they could shatter all previous price records overnight.